live. I don't know. Why am I doing that? we are the Rotohackers. We are your opportunity for fantasy football and entertainment and information, but we're unauthorized and we're hackers. I am sitting here in the virtual square rectangle with A.J. Herschel, the kid, and it's Jared. I need to auto-tune that.
Yeah.
And we are going to get through a little news, and then we are going to talk about our taboo players, the players that analysts hold in low regard, and we hold in bull regard.
Or vice versa.
Yeah. Ah, yeah, that's true. Okay. So, in the news, do you think that the Ezekiel Elliott is going to play in week 1? AJ, let's hear from you first tonight.
I mean, we're talking on a Tuesday night. They're this close to a contract. They say, I think more than likely he does end up playing. I feel like they are going to get a deal done and pay him Gurley like money on week 1. I still think that there's a chance that they don't get a deal done and we're stuck in limbo for who knows how long. But in my opinion, I think they'll just end up having to pay him top dollar and he shows up week 1.
But more than just getting the contract, do you think? I mean, he hasn't practiced or played with the team since, I don't know, March?
Who knows? I don't know. Maybe he's been doing some special football training in Cabo. We'll never know.
Yeah. Lifting those mojitos. What about you? What do you think, Jared?
I think he'll play unless there is a little 8% chance in the back of my mind that's what if they're still really far apart in contract negotiations and Zeke and his agent are just we're going to put all the pressure on Jerry Jones. We're going to make this public spectacle of showing up at the airport, signing autographs for fans. We're ready to play. All we got to do is finish this off. And what if that was it? I don't think that's it, but that's a much more interesting story in my mind.
Well, here's the thing is you take that 8% and slice it in half because it might work.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, I'll say I think there's a chance that maybe they're slightly farther apart than what's being led on, and they are kind of using that as the final little push to say, look, we did all this, we came back, and then Jerry wouldn't do it, So I think that's possible, but I think it does get done. As far as him showing up and playing or not practicing with the team, it sounds like he's stayed in pretty good shape. We do at least know, unless it's a complete lie, that he's actually down in weight. So for a running back, here's the ball, run it forward. I don't think he'll have forgotten how to do that part. So I think he'll be good.
Okay. I sure hope so, because I want to beat you in that first week.
Oh, we have a week 1 showdown between the two of you.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna. I don't know. I think the only thing is if it ends up taking another, day or two to get it done. I think if it gets done tomorrow, then he should probably get most of the carries. But if for some reason it didn't get done and he didn't practice till the very end of the week, maybe he just gets one day of practice, then maybe they're splitting with Pollard a little bit more or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay, yeah, I think it probably. I don't know. I have no idea. That I hadn't thought about that idea that they're forcing the hand. Now, but like I said, even if they are forcing the hand, it's all theatrics. It would probably force the hand. I mean, Jerry, there's a non-zero chance Jerry's just I guess I got to do it now.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, he's Jerry's an old man,
That's
and
true.
you never know what old men how stubborn they're going to be about something. So if somehow that was true, then I don't know. I think maybe all bets would be off, but I would think it's probably going to happen.
I think even if he does split carries or gets less carries, I mean, he's going to get a touchdown. He's going to get, if he gets 15 touches, that's easily,
right. That's
100
better.
yards.
Yeah, I mean that's better than most guys getting 25 probably. So
yeah. AJ, any more thoughts on that, or are we good?
Not really on Zeke. Nope. Just feel like I think he is going to play week 1.
Okay. The rest of the news, I think we can fold it into our discussion about our favorite players, unless there's anything you guys saw that was of note.
Jared Goff.
Oh,
got a huge contract, but I mean that wasn't really
110 million guaranteed.
Yeah. So
I don't that like bores me to death. Does that have any fantasy relevance?
Not really. I think Goff. I think it's going to be interesting to me to see what happens with Goff this year because, at the beginning of last year, probably for two-thirds of the season, I'd say, he really looked like he had taken that next step forward, was putting up really good numbers. And then it all kind of started, I think, with that game in Chicago where I think they kind of adjusted to him and just started putting a ton of pressure up the middle, and he just did nothing. He just kind of fell apart. And so we thought Chicago's got the best defense in the league. Just kind of a hiccup. It was a road game. It's kind of a hiccup, but then, teams just kind of started adopting, I think, that game plan, and he was terrible over, the end of the season and did nothing in the Super Bowl. If he had even done a little bit in the Super Bowl, they could have won that game. So I'm curious to see what's gonna give there. Has he somehow adjusted, or did the Rams adjust, or are teams just gonna be able to continue doing that? And if so, will his season long numbers be more reflective of what we saw at the end of the season rather than the first 2/3?
Yeah, I just feel like who's the coach?
Sean McVay.
Sean McVay. Yeah, I feel like McVay has had all summer to work on that, and he's the kind of guy that could get it done.
Yeah. Oh, one other bit of news that's not really getting a whole lot of attention. That's just kind of, I just saw this today, and I don't know how much truth there is to it, but there's a lot of rumors around the Atlanta sports media folks that Julio Jones could hold out.
Get out of here.
You can start. Yeah. I'm like, what, where did this come from? You've had the whole preseason to hold out. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. I would think it would not, but apparently, let's see. I should have looked that up while we were talking here to see.
Pick up your Ridleys.
Yeah, exactly right. Like Calvin Ridley, who's been really kind of devalued all preseason because he did most of his scoring in a handful of games last year, and he's probably going to have touchdown regression. People really haven't been that high on him. So
he's been going in the 6th round, though. I mean, it's not like he's been on the waiver wire.
Well, yeah. No, it's not like that. I mean, but let's see. Yeah, so I guess within the last couple hours, basically it's just talking about the fact that he hasn't gotten a new contract, and
Hmm.
So Dan Quinn, the coach, is saying, well, he's ready to kind of get it done and move on to celebrations and stuff. Let's see. Okay, yeah, this is the Falcoholic, which is the sporting news. I think it's the sporting news blog of the Falcons. And so it said earlier today, in the last 48 hours or so, we've seen Vaughn McClure, who is ESPN's beat writer for the Falcons, speculate that Julio Jones may not be out there for week 1 if a contract doesn't get done. And we've seen Pro Football Talk run with a league executive confirming the deal isn't done and speculating that the Falcons are getting impatient. So that's what that came from. So
Interesting.
I don't know if there's anything to it, but it kind of came out of the blue. I would expect him to be out there.
Yes, but here's the thing: is if Ezekiel Elliott gets $90 million, it will be a success for him and the players. And I think it wouldn't surprise me if players are like, oh,
right.
If I just get half of that, you know?
Yeah, that's what happens. Yeah. I mean, guys, set the bar. And if you're kind of like we've said before, like if you're in kind of that top tier of your position, then whenever it's time for your contract extension, it's just basically expected that you will set the new bar for it. And if you're a quarterback, you don't even have to be in that top tier. So, it will be interesting to see, what happens. I think because it's happening so close to the season, I think guys probably aren't going to now hold out. Like if he had done it, maybe, gotten it done at the beginning of the preseason, then I think you could have seen that more. But I don't think you'll have that much now. So.
But he could potentially get more than Ezekiel because he doesn't have. I mean, when he doesn't have a contract.
I can't remember. You mean this is the last year of his contract?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't remember off the top of my head when it was up. I think last year, basically, they came to a compromise where, they didn't give him an extension or a new contract or anything like that, but they just basically worked it out to where he would get paid more last year with the expectation that, a new deal would probably get done prior to this season. So there was actually, I think, more holdout talk last year that I remember, and it just ended up not happening because they found a way to appease him. But this year, because we hadn't heard anything, I just assumed like, they're probably close. They're probably moving towards it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't
know.
That's
interesting. Wow, dropping bombs on us down here.
That's Andy. Right. Providing some exclusive as stuff that's like widely available on Twitter can be. Exclusive information.
Interesting. Well, I just sent out a trade request for Ridley, so we'll see. I put David Montgomery for Ridley.
Oh, ooh, no.
Interesting.
I wouldn't do that. No.
Not gonna happen.
No, I would not do that for. I mean, I would not trade David Montgomery for Ridley.
Why not?
Because I think the potential is just like Yahoo. Yahoo does this little thing. It's kind of like senior superlatives, from high school and stuff, of players most likely to do whatever. Yeah. And I think that, and I can't remember exactly how they phrased it, but David Montgomery was the guy that they put like most likely to, like make you a winner or cost you your season or something like that, But
here's the thing is I was already quite high on Ridley. He was hurt for the second half of the season last year. And he admitted to being in extreme pain for most of the season. I think he's healthy now. He's an excellent player. I have never trusted Julio. I've never liked Julio. I don't know. And
because of that one run in you guys had.
Yeah.
He knows
stole-
what he
He
knows what
stole
he
my
did.
French fries. No, actually, he won me one of my best seasons winning was with Julio and Ryan, 2016. I think.
MVP year.
Was it?
I think so,
bro.
right?
No, it was his rookie year.
What?
Mhm.
Okay, then that's not 2016.
Oh. Okay, then maybe it was his MVP year. All right, let's move on to the main event. I'm going to cancel that trade.
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that.
The main event. Who are you more excited about than, say, pick your favorite analyst. Mine being
Favorite or
like favorite to hate.
oh, okay,
Oh,
that's what I
that's
meant.
easy.
Like, yeah.
I know who yours is, Herschel. I think I know who yours is, Jared.
I'll have to pick. I'll have to pick somebody else if you're going to pick him because
No, I wasn't going to pick him. I was going to say Evans, who's the fade the noise guy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He's a Brad Evans.
Brad
Yeah,
Evans.
He's another good one. One of us needs to get Evans, and one of us needs to get Matthew Berry.
Oh yeah, I'll take Brad Evans. I kind of like him, but he's such a blowhard.
He's I think like as much as I enjoy listening to him, I think he's probably the worst fantasy analyst. His stuff is just so wrong.
He's so wrong. So not as bad as AJ Herschel's, though. I have to say.
Oh my gosh,
Michael
brutal.
Fabiano. I can't take it.
Yeah,
I can't do it.
that guy.
Do it. I wasn't
saying worse than AJ Herschel. I was saying worse than AJ Herschel. The guy I knew he was going to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Fabiano.
He ruined one of my years one time when I was still trying to figure out. Or no, he didn't ruin it, but he messed me up for a while when he kept putting Kobe Fleener on his stardom list in New Orleans. And that was back when I listened to stardom lists. And then I realized 7 weeks of non-production isn't a good idea. No.
Right.
Michael Fabiano, I just can't look at his face.
What?
There's just some guys that's like, I don't know. He works for NFL, right?
Yep.
Yeah. His voice sounds pretentious. At least some of these guys, like, I could probably be their friend, but not Matthew Berry.
No.
Not Fabiano.
No.
Not gonna happen. Okay, so who are they? Who are these three guys saying, hey, these guys are gonna be good, but you haven't drafted them? Who are these guys saying, hey, these guys aren't gonna make more than 8 points a game, but you're gonna start them? We'll start with you, Jared.
I need a minute on it because see, you knew the topic ahead of time, so I think
we talked about it last time.
Oh, I don't even remember all this. I don't even remember that. So you.
All right, so me
go with yours. Yeah.
All right, so this is a guy that you guys are low on too, and that is Singletary. I call him Motor Singletary because that's what they called him in college. Motor Singletary, I think, is going to lead the backfield and maybe be top 10. I'm going to say he's going to be a top 10 running back in the NFL by the end of the year.
Devin Singletary?
Singletary.
Wow.
Okay.
I think and it's not just it's not just based on his skill, because I think he's good. He's smaller. He's a little bit more diminutive, but it's his heart. It's you see these kind of guys are just like, they do not give up. They called him Motor, and you see it in the way he plays, and his vision is even, like in college was amazing, of course, but that's college. Watching him in the preseason, you could tell. He just has, like, he doesn't see the guy coming, but he still spins him out of the way. I love Devin Singletary, and I might be starting him week 1.
Wow.
What? You must have a poor set of running backs.
Start him against me.
I have him in most of my leagues, not all my leagues. I don't think I have him in our league, unfortunately, or else I'd put my money where my mouth is. Oh, I do.
Whoa! Put him
You know
in.
what? I feel like you need to make a statement by starting him over Ezekiel Elliott.
Oh,
Not gonna do that, but I'm putting him in my lineup right now.
over who? Over who?
Over Michael Williams as my flex. Boom. Done.
All right.
We'll
Can't wait
see
to
if
how
I
this
have the
plays out.
cojones to keep it there. Keep him there. Now, I'm going to put this out there. If Ezekiel Elliott doesn't start, I'm going to be making some crazy switcheroos. So I'm going to leave that caveat out there. All right. So what about you, kid?
Oh boy. Mine's gonna be one that I'm not high on. I think this is just kind of a general consensus. For some reason, I have seen two names pop up a ton when it comes to wide receivers that you can get in later rounds. Those two people are Christian Kirk and Corey Davis.
Oh, yeah.
I don't trust either of them. I used to be kind of high on Corey Davis, but the more and more I hear about the Titans offense just being a mess internally, the less and less I'm liking him as a wide receiver that I actually want to start. And it's hard for me to believe that I can't pick up anyone else by time anywhere between round 7 to 10 rolls around, depending on how many teams you got. And it's hard for me to think, oh, yeah, this is a person that I'm definitely going to pick up, especially not Christian Kirk in Arizona's offense. I think I have him in like one league that got auto-drafted and another league where it was 13th round. I needed a wide receiver who wasn't on the same bye week or something like that. And I took him, and I don't feel confident about either of them because they're stuck in two offenses that are just completely a mess right now.
Right, but aren't these these are guys that you can get in your 10th, 11th round. I mean, you're not spending a whole lot of draft capital on them.
Well, but the same's true of Singletary, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm starting him. It's the opposite.
What? No, you just said, but your argument was based on the fact that you could get him late, though.
No. My argument is that nobody has him as being a top rookie running back.
Took him in the 12th round, and he was still the third string running back.
I got him off the waiver wire in a lot of leagues. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm opposite of what everybody else is saying, right? So people are leaving him on the waiver wire. I'm picking him up and putting him in my starting lineup. But you're saying Corey Davis is bad. I don't know anybody who's saying Corey Davis is good.
I'm just saying I don't want to draft him, period. No matter where he's going. Like, even if I'm in round 15, I'd rather probably take someone else.
Okay, well, I get that. That makes sense. Okay.
Right,
what about you?
All right. So I ended up, as much as I dislike Matthew Berry's personality, in terms of his rankings, I almost always agree with it. Like when he does the weekly thing too, like all his like sit and start or love hate. I guess it's love hate. I'm sure he'd be very offended that I got the name of his column wrong. It's love. But I mostly agree with his rankings. And so I couldn't really like go through and find something on his that I'm like, I don't agree with that. So I went to, I subscribed to The Athletic. And they do fantasy rankings too. So
All In Kids, my boy.
What's that?
I love All In Kid. What's his real name?
I don't know. The guy who does their fantasy stuff is Jake Seeley.
Jake Seeley, the All In Kid. I love that guy.
Oh, okay.
He's really good.
Yeah, I agree with some of his stuff. However, he has as his number 6 running back, Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah, I know.
Le'Veon Bell above David Johnson, Dalvin Cook, Todd Gurley, Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon, and then even, some guys like Fournette, Chris Carson, Josh Jacobs, carry on. Okay, so he's got him at 6. And I'll just start with that to say I do not trust if you want to take Le'Veon Bell, that's fine. I don't trust him. I have him in one league. It's a $50 league, and I have him because I had Alvin Kamara, and someone offered me Bell and Julio Jones in exchange for Kamara. I'm like, that's I can't really turn that down. I mean, as much as I like Kamara, it sounds like Latavius Murray is going to take over at least a good bit of that Mark Ingram production. Kamara had a ton of touchdowns last year. I feel like there's going to maybe be a little touchdown regression. He's not going to. They've already said they don't want to give him more carries. They like him in the role he's in. So I felt like that was a good deal to get.
You traded Bell for Kamara?
No, I traded Kamara and got Le'Veon Bell and Julio Jones in return.
Oh, Julio Jones as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, two guys that are like.
Yeah, but didn't you also trade? You told me about it. Didn't you also trade Godwin?
Somebody, no, it wasn't. I don't know. It was somebody else was involved in it.
Yeah.
But you're getting two fringe top 10 players.
Julio's not even play this year.
He'll be fine. So you're getting two fringe top 10 players. Kamara, because of his role, I like him, but it's just, I mean, to me, he's, he's not quite in that same category with like Saquon, Zeke, and Christian McCaffrey. So anyway, so I did take him in that one deal. But otherwise I haven't drafted him because I wouldn't probably take him until the bottom of the second round, and he's never there. He's going sometimes mid first. I've seen him go as high as like the 5th pick, or if not like early second. So, he was in Pittsburgh. He was in that Pittsburgh offense for his entire career. He's going to a younger quarterback. He doesn't have star receivers around him. It's a different offensive system. He's been out of football for a year.
Yeah.
He was injury prone while he was in Pittsburgh, and he had suspensions for marijuana while he was in Pittsburgh. So, and on top of everything else, like for all the, he's a great dual threat pass catcher and everything, but he never, even in Pittsburgh's offense, he really never scored that many touchdowns. I mean, he wasn't like a guy that was going to throw up 15 touchdowns or something. So for all those reasons, as the number 6 running back, no. So on the flip side of that, Seeley has all the way down. He's bumped him all the way down to 25 is the Colts running back, Marlon Mack. Marlon Mack had a lot of big games last year after he got healthy. The Colts have one of the top offensive lines in the NFL. The fact that Andrew Luck is now gone means that they're just going to have to run it more. And he is a little bit game script dependent because he's not a great pass catcher. But I think he'll probably improve a little bit on that this year. And just from his running alone and his ability to get in the end zone, I don't feel like he's a guy that should be bumped down below, Lindsey and Darius Geis, and guys like that. So that's my guys. I
don't think you'll get too much pushback from us. What do you think, AJ?
Yeah, I think that's totally fair. About Le'Veon moving, especially with the entirely new offense, is the thing that scares me the most completely. Especially with a team that's in, I'd say they have to play the Patriots twice every year, which definitely isn't going to make things any easier. I still think he'll be, at the very least, I think he'll still be top 10, but I totally get what you're saying that I'm not comfortable taking him where he's going.
Right.
I would just say be careful going against Jake Seeley. Jake Seeley has like one of the best ratings as far as those rankings.
Yeah, that's part of the reason. I looked at some. Yeah, the rankings.
That's a hot take. That's a hot take. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. I was looking at Brad Evans doesn't have ranking. Does he do rankings?
You can look at Yahoo's, if you search for Yahoo Fantasy Football Rankings, it's their kind of composite rankings of all their analysts, and they've got them split in little columns. And his is on. I think his is the second one. I think it's him and Barron's are on the left.
Oh yeah. I love Barron's.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I tend to agree with a lot of Andy's stuff.
And I've been listening to Liz Loza since like a long time ago. I used to listen to. She's a little weird.
She seems like she's wrong a lot. I don't know. I think her and Brad.
She has weird takes. I'll say that.
I think maybe she just has to say something different than the other two. I think maybe that's kind of her role, is to be the one who's sort of the devil's advocate.
Well, she's always been this one. She's like, I think that's her role, but I think they hired her for that because she's always been, before she worked for Yahoo, she always wants to be like different than everybody else. Which, I mean, that's probably pretty good in fantasy football, but she like particularly like she wants to get these like weird calls, right? And sometimes she gets them. Yeah. Most times she doesn't. Okay, mine's gonna be, and I'm just going for ones they have low and I have high, because I want to start these guys. I want to and I want to put my money where my mouth is, and by money, I mean draft. Start. I don't know what it's called, but so Brad Evans has Joe Mixon, 28.
Oh,
28. So that's almost third round. That's pretty much third round, right? No, that's second round, bottom of the second, right?
Yeah, and that's overall among like flex players, right? Or all players?
All players. Yeah, that's not bad. That's not too low. Oh, I know a better one. Okay. Brad Evans has Kerryon Johnson, 27. I think Kerryon Johnson's going to be a first round pick next year. I think he's going to play up to first round abilities this year. I think he's going to be in the top 10. Wow, man, I'm going to have a lot of running backs top 10. He's going to be in top 12. Kerryon Johnson is going to lead his team to victory. And by team, I mean his fantasy. People that have teams that have him on this fantasy team.
Yeah, he's not leading the Lions anywhere.
No, Lions ain't going nowhere. But as far as fantasy teams, I think he's going to have a tremendous year. Two major reasons for this. One, he's got skill coming out the nose, and watching his tape, like I barely have him anywhere. I'm like 2 places.
Yeah,
ticks me off because I just wasn't thinking about him. I remember seeing him last year, but I went back and I saw some tape from last year, and just his cutting ability is beautiful to watch. I call it the juke foot, man. He just juke foots people left and right. And on top of that, has that I like these running backs that they get hit and keep going. Hunt was kind of like that. Kareem Hunt had the same thing. With the certain kind of balance, it's like a mixture of balance and go-getterness that like you get hit and you fight for more. You push people off, you fight for more, because you see some of these running backs get hit. I've been thinking of like Coleman. Someone like Coleman gets hit and he's like, okay, I'm done. Yeah, I'll get some more yards next time. Like not these guys, man. They fight. Now the problem is so that was the first thing I like. The second is I like the fact that the depth chart there's not a lot of people in the last year. He had to share touches with a lot of people and he got hurt.
Yeah, right.
But there's not as much competition. They're talking about giving him more catches, making him the main event. And so the worry is that he gets hurt. But to me, the most, I think the highest probability for your running back to get hurt is a bad line. And I feel like the Lions have really sewn up their offensive line. They've made some good moves, and I feel good about their offensive line this year. What say you guys on Kerryon Johnson? As I would feel safe taking him in the first round.
Wow.
Like this year, first round.
Next draft, I'm taking him first round.
Okay, next round.
But why would you take him in the first round when you know he's going to be there in the second round?
Yeah, well, that's true. Now he's not. I mean, that's not necessarily true because that's one of the reasons I haven't been able to get him because I go Chubb first round. Right. Oh, you're saying he's third round.
Yeah, I have not seen anyone take him.
Yeah, he's third
in the
round.
second round. You could get him. I mean, if you want to get him, if you want to make sure you get him, but you could still do it in the second round and not have to burn your first round pick.
Yeah. Next draft, if I have another one, I might be done. But it will be. I'll take him in the second round. I just regret that I haven't been taking him. I've been taking Kittle over him. Mm-hmm. And I have a lot of remorse about that. I have Kittle almost all my leagues, and I'm just starting to feel like.
Well, today this won't make you feel any better, but Shanahan, the 49ers coach, said today that he wanted to reduce Kittle's snaps this year.
Yeah, I saw that. He said the same thing last year, though, and that didn't happen.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. Because I don't like Kittle for his production as much as I like Kittle for his skill. Like he does a lot with a little.
Yeah. Yeah. He had some good run after the catch last year.
Pretty amazing. Which probably he's going to have some regression, but
right. Yeah. Back to your point about Kerryon. Yeah. There's two things that worry me there. I went back and looked and to see. Well, I'll address Kerryon first, but I don't have a ton of stock in him. I think I have him I actually got him in my first league, and I got him in a trade recently. Okay. I think that's it. I don't think I have him in any other leagues because even though I like him, yet he is somewhat injury prone. I remember 2 years ago when Georgia was playing Auburn. He got hurt in that game. And so then he tried to come back for the SEC championship. And, he just wasn't, I can't remember if he didn't play at all or just wasn't really effective. I think he did try to play, and maybe you remember this, AJ.
Yeah, I don't think he played for all of it. I don't think.
Yeah, I think maybe he just got in for a little bit and just wasn't very effective. So skill wise, I really like him. But the injuries and the Lions, the Lions, they just seem like such a mess with Matt Patricia last year. I don't think he's cut out to be a head coach. I don't think he knows what he's doing. Stafford, no one seems to have really been able to figure out what's the best way to really get Stafford in that offense going. So I would like Kerryon as early fourth round pick, but I'm not real comfortable with him where he's.
Would you take Kerryon or would you take let's see, who's an easy fourth rounder Kittle. Would you take Kittle or would you take Kerryon?
I would take Kittle because the position is more valuable. And there's three big running backs, or I'm sorry, three big tight ends, Kittle, Kelsey, and Ertz.
Yeah.
There's a ton of running backs that I think are kind of in that range with Kerryon where you don't know exactly who's going to have the better season.
Yeah, there's like Freeman. Would you take Freeman or would you take Kerryon?
I would take Kerryon over Freeman because I've mostly avoided Devonta Freeman in my leagues because the Falcons' offensive line last year was terrible. The two games that Freeman was in before he got hurt, struggled to do anything. Tevin Coleman, when he was in, struggled to do anything. They've tried to kind of address that in the offseason. It hasn't really in the preseason looked like it's made much difference. Their first round pick was an offensive lineman and he's been out. He had to have a heart procedure. so I think he's coming back, but Devonta Freeman scares me. I would take Kerryon over him.
What about Diggs? Diggs or Kerryon?
Kerryon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Diggs is just one of those wide receivers in that fourth.
So you might as well take him in the. You might as well take him in the third then. Or would you take him? Would you take Kerryon or Fournette?
That's a tough one. Fournette, because I think he's in a even. I feel better about his situation with Foles this year, and I just feel like he's got to be healthy eventually, right? You know.
Well, this is the both of you guys. What about you, AJ? What do you think? Kerryon or Fournette?
See, that's the hardest part because both of them have injury histories to some extent.
I think everybody who doesn't name one running back that doesn't, other than Saquon. Well, even Saquon.
Alvin Kamara.
Alvin Kamara has injury.
Not major injury history. Not major injury history.
Every year he gets injured.
What? No.
Yeah.
Not major injuries though. Like Leonard Fournette has torn his ACL before. He's been out for nearly an entire year before.
His hamstring last year.
Yep, exactly. Like these are major injuries that'll keep you out multiple weeks.
Alvin Kamara had a hammy the year before last year.
But it was only out for what, 2-3 weeks that year? 2-3 weeks. It didn't make that severe of an impact on the Saints offense. Meanwhile, you saw when Fournette left Jacksonville just became horrible. They were pitiful without Leonard Fournette powering their offense. So the hardest part there is just seeing, Kerryon's had ankle problems coming out of college. Fournette's had ACL problems coming out of college. I mean, I guess possibly Fournette just because, like Jared, like you said, he's in a more secure situation, I would say, in Jacksonville. But taking Kerryon is still a serious thought simply because, at this point, the Lions don't have that much else other than Galladay. That's why
you guys are, that's why we're getting them in the fourth, though, right? Or the third, right. Really. Late third.
Well, it depends. Like I honestly, like in what's happened with me is, well, I guess I have been kind of picking around there for the late third, but the late third, I've ended up taking tight ends a lot of times, either Ertz or Kittle, so that's only a certain percentage of my drafts where I'm like, drafting in the late third round and snake drafts. And mostly I've gone to auction drafts. And, there's just guys that are kind of around that similar price point that are maybe are a little bit cheaper that I, feel better about. Like I was going through, this is kind of a little bit separate topic, but this is our last podcast before the season starts. So maybe now's as good of a time as any to throw it out there. But I was going through and looking to see like, who do I have the most stock in, and it's always kind of the same for me, where I typically don't have a ton of stock in any like first or second round guys, because in those rounds I tend to kind of want to diversify a little bit.
Right. Yeah, that's good. That's smart.
Because if you, as people say, like you can't win your draft with your first or second round pick, but you can lose your draft, with it. And so if a guy gets out or hurt or something, you've taken your top picks and used it on him that you could have had for somebody else. But like once we get down to like the 4th, 5th, 6th rounds, I'm a lot more willing to just like have a ton of
guys.
Right. Take my guys, have a ton of stock in guys that I think are going to have a good season. And then if it doesn't pan out, it was a 4th or 5th round pick or 6th. So, who cares? So I do kind of have one exception. I have a couple of exceptions to that rule, where I have the most stock of those first or really, I guess, second round guys in Juju and Kelsey.
Yeah.
But even then, it's only like a quarter of my teams. I've got like 16 teams and I've got them on 4. So really, other than that, none of those first couple of round guys, I don't have any on more than like 3 teams. So those are the guys that I've gotten there. But then later on, I realized I've got a ton of stock in my man, Chris Carson.
Yes.
I've got
But
I've got a ton of stock in actually in the Raiders running back, Josh Jacobs.
Hmm.
yeah, it's probably pretty good.
Yeah, I mean he's going to be the guy there. I'm getting him in auction drafts. You can get him in auction drafts for like low 20s. So a good bit in him. He's a young guy. He's going to be the guy. He doesn't really have to fend off anybody else. Maybe Jalen Richard gets some, third down work, but mostly he's going to be the guy. I've got a fair amount in Mark Ingram because Mark Ingram was there a lot of times in the 5th or 6th round. I have a ton in receivers like D.D. Westbrook, Robbie Anderson, and Will Fuller. And then my quarterbacks are pretty consistently Baker and Carson Wentz.
Interesting.
So fair amount of stock in all those guys.
Interesting. Well, AJ, did you have one more guy?
I do have one more, and I know I've mentioned it before, but I just got to mention him again. On Fabiano's list, he's the 38th running back, and in Yahoo's, he's the 30th consensus running back, to which I think he's being taken way too low. And I know I've said it before, and I'll say it again, that Latavius Murray is being taken way, way, way too low. In my opinion, he's pretty much guaranteed, in my opinion, top 20 at the least. At the very, very least, I think he's better than a lot of the running backs that have ahead of him, especially people like Matt Breida, Darius Geis, Kenyon Drake, all of those. I'd say he's ahead of all of them because he's going to be getting a lot of goal line carries for New Orleans. I feel like he's just going to get a lot of touchdowns, not so much in the yards department, but more in the rushing when you're inside the 10. He's going to be your red zone guy. I feel like he's going to be as good at the very least as good as Mark Ingram was last year and the years before with Kamara there. I think he's being taken absolutely way too low. I've been trying to take him as many places as possible.
Well, I'd like to agree with you because I have him quite a bit, but I mainly have him to back up. I have Kamara too. He's not as good as Mark Ingram. I've been watching Latavius Murray for a long time. I've been watching Mark Ingram for a long time, and they are not comparable. Now, he is bigger and stronger, but he is slower and does not have the kind of vision that Mark Ingram
goal line carries.
Yeah, I know, but did you see how many times he got stuffed up in Minnesota? That guy is like just a lumbering oaf.
That's in Minnesota though. We all know Minnesota had a bunch of they were not a perfect team last year. Far from it. Meanwhile, the Saints were moving like a well-oiled machine. I feel like he's going to work really well in that offense.
All right, well, I hear you. I just disagree. I think he will get some touchdowns, but he's going to be the backup.
Yeah, I think I fall kind of somewhere in between you guys. I would agree with most of the guys you were putting him above. I don't think he's going to produce Ingram numbers. I think he may get a fair amount. I think he will get a fair amount of that workload, but I don't think he'll be able to do as much with it. But I think he probably is a better bet than some of those guys that you mentioned.
And you talk about injury prone. Man, this guy, he's on the injured list right now. Injured list, huh?
He's questionable.
I want to take whoever's behind him. Who's behind him? That's who I'm going to start looking at.
You traded me Cooper Kupp for him.
Yeah, I don't think Cooper Kupp's anything.
He's played 16 games 3 out of the last 4 years. And the one game he didn't do it was the one year he didn't have 16. He played 14. That was, he had some ankle problems that year, but he still played in the.
He had ankle problems last year too.
Yeah, he had a couple of ankle issues as well.
He didn't play 16 games last year.
Yeah, he played 16 games. He only started 6, but he played all 16.
Well, it didn't feel like he played 16. Okay,
true. Fair enough.
I'm just kidding.
No, he didn't play 16 games.
What?
I'm looking at it right now.
This is definitely something that we can sort out. We don't have to if he's looking at it, he's either lying or he played 16 games.
No, but I mean, like he was on the roster. He was injured. He was as a backup. You can still be injured and play.
I always get a kick out of Judah's like explanations how this just spirals into word salad, where he's like, okay, sure, he played 16 games. Sure, he was in the game and he carried the ball and he got yards and touchdowns, but he didn't play. 16
All right, well, we'll see. Latavius, though, I think he's gonna be a fine backup. Now, if Kamara goes down, he will pick up a huge load.
See, I think they would. I don't know. I think they might actually like try to put somebody else in that role because I mean they're so different. Like he couldn't do.
That is true.
He couldn't do what Kamara does.
What is there? Who is behind him? Now I'm very curious.
Yeah, that might be a interesting thing to see.
All right. So do you have one last one?
Who?
Jared.
Oh, another guy who's being devalued.
Like somebody who is being devalued. You value them more than the consensus out there.
Yeah. I would say probably, even though he's not exactly being devalued. I mean, he's like, I'm just looking at the Yahoo analysts here, and they pretty much have him in the above 30 to 35 range. And I think he has the potential to do much better than that. Is my Jacksonville guy, Dede Westbrook.
Dede, yes.
He's got a better quarterback now, just a quarterback period. He's got another year of experience. He was starting to look stronger last year. The preseason connection between him and Foles has been good. They're just going to have to try to do something besides hand the ball to Leonard Fournette every time. So, like I said, he's going in the 30 something or so range. In terms of the rankings, they've still got, specifically with receivers, they've still got T.Y. Hilton at 19 overall. I think Dede Westbrook has a better season than T.Y. Hilton. So, and now there's other guys in between that could potentially have a better season, but I think I'll stay just looking to see who all they have here. I think Dede finishes as a top 20 wide receiver.
Well, I sure hope so. And I hope he has a big game on he's going to be on my bench probably on the first week.
Have you got him in our league?
Yeah, against you. Yeah, he'll probably be on my bench. That's interesting. Dede has always been somebody who I've thought is underrated. Although every time I think he's underrated, he goes and does nothing. So hopefully having a better quarterback will help that situation.
And he's young. I think last year was just his second year, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
So, I mean, a lot of times, unless you really have like a first round receiver, a lot of those guys really don't develop until their second or third year. And, like I said, last year he was held back by his quarterback. So year three plus a better quarterback, I think, he could really surprise people. I have him in a lot of leagues. I'll take him in our league if you don't want him.
All right, I'll just give him to you.
That's what I was thinking.
What do you think, AJ?
I don't know. It's I do think that Jacksonville is going to be much, much better than they were last year, especially. It's just hard for me I don't even know. He's just such an unknown to me because he's so young. So on the one hand, yes, he could absolutely have a huge breakout year with Nick Foles. Or on the other hand, he's a fine wide receiver like last year, 800 yards, 5 touchdowns. I could see him breaking into top 20, but I just don't know if I'm just not exactly taking a lot of him at this right now. I think he could be really good, like you're saying. I think he could be a really nice addition to Jacksonville and fantasy in general. when
How
drafting
much-
him. I'm just worried that it's not going to pan out as well.
How much would a team have to throw to get their number one wide receiver into the top 20? Because Jacksonville's not going to throw that much.
I'll have to look back to see what he had in terms of targets last year, but
I mean, are they going to throw over 70 balls a game?
Well,
What?
you don't have to
70 passes a game.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to think like, okay, so Dede had last year, he had 101 targets and 66 receptions. Like that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
And it didn't really translate into yardage. He just had 717 yards. So it wasn't a lot, but if you're getting one of the things I've always heard in fantasy football, and I generally believe it with occasional exceptions, but is quote, chase the targets. And so if a guy is getting a bunch of targets, generally that's going to, translate into production. So, 101 targets, I don't think that's going to go down from last year. They've got a better quarterback now, and he's a year better. So, I think he, at minimum probably gets 110 targets, 75 receptions, 1,000 yards, 7 touchdowns. I mean, I think if he stays healthy, that's probably the minimum.
Okay. Well, we've gone about an hour. Does anybody have any final thoughts? I think we've talked about enough for these individuals. Is there any final thoughts that have come up for you while we've talked, and something you just want to get off your chest?
I kind of now, if Zeke's contract is going to get signed, I wish I had more stock in him. Because I only took him in 2 out of 16 leagues. But like the first 5 or 6 I did were snake drafts, and I was never in the top 4 to take him. And then I did an auction, and then I think like my second and third auction drafts, I took him. And then like weirdly, his price, like the longer his holdout went, like it seemed like the higher that his price started climbing. That was the strangest thing. I don't know. So I took him in those first couple drafts because he was around like 55 or less. I could get him for like 54, 55. And I could also get Pollard for $1 or $2. But like the longer it went, like he started going like, high 50s, close to 60 or 60, 61. And then you would also have to pay, several bucks for Pollard. So it was just really hard for me to justify, taking that if, for a guy that may or may not play. I mean, I think I would have done it if we hadn't gone through the Le'Veon Bell situation last year.
Yeah, I think that's what's scaring everybody.
Yeah. And so
it's the Melvin Gordon thing this year.
Well, yeah, Melvin Gordon, but we wouldn't have known without Le'Veon last year. We would have just thought like, oh yeah, Melvin's going to hold out for 6 games and then he'll be back or something. But Le'Veon's he's kind of changed the game. So so now I kind of regret not having more stock in Zeke. But the only other thing too with that is I look ahead to like fantasy playoff matchups, and week 15 they've got the Rams, and the Rams have a good run defense, and so it's at home, and who knows, one of the guys, one of the Rams interior linemen could be hurt or something. But it's not like right off the bat, it's not an ideal situation. So if you told me like, who do you not want your star running back playing in week 15, there's going to be a short list of like, well, probably not Baltimore, probably not the Rams. They would be on a short list of like probably 5 teams that I'd be like, oh yeah, I don't really want to play on them. So Yeah, I don't know. I kind of regret not having more stock in him. But if he had had a good playoff matchup, I would have probably still, went for it. So
Mm.
Interesting. What about you, AJ? Any final words?
I don't know. You guys have kind of made me I can't believe I'm saying this. You guys have kind of made me a believer into Baker Mayfield and the Browns offense somehow,
What?
because I don't know how
Not
you guys
me.
somehow, I don't know what it was, but somehow, I don't know. Maybe it was because Judah Buddha, you keep taking Lamar Jackson everywhere, and I'm iffy on the Ravens offense. But I don't know. The more and more that I think about it, the more and more I find myself taking him, because I typically don't. I'm not really always going to take Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson, because I just rather get a solid wide receiver running back,
yeah,
or at that point in time, to just carry me throughout the season, and then pick up a quarterback in round like 6 or 7, where I can get someone like a Baker Mayfield or a Russell Wilson, who'll be pretty much decently consistent for the entire year. And I find myself taking more and more of Baker Mayfield for some reason. I don't really know why. I think it might have something to do with Nick Chubb be going so high. Jarvis Landry's looking better and better the more I think about it in the Browns offense. So I've just been taking him way. I think of him in a much better light than I had earlier in the season.
He was almost one of the ones I was going to say everybody's way too high on, and I think he's going to suck.
well, I think he could be. I could, even though I've got a ton of stock in him, I think he could
Mayfield?
Yeah,
Oh.
yeah, because I'm getting him 7th, 8th round, and so kind of what's happened there at that point. To AJ's point, I think it's like a combination of stuff. Like, one, he had a good rookie year.
Yeah.
And he really didn't do that much for the beginning part of it. He really kind of caught on towards the second half. Now he's in his second year, so he should be better. The Browns offense should be better, with a full year of Nick Chubb. They've added in Odell, and the other thing too is just kind of it's at the point where he's going, where I can't get Patrick Mahomes has never gone past the 3rd round in any of my drafts. He's either a 2nd or 3rd round guy, and I don't want to spend on a quarterback for 2nd or 3rd round. He had 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns last year. I don't want to buy high on. I don't chase last year's numbers. He may repeat it.
You kind of do sometimes.
Oh, not a full season's worth of numbers. Like if a guy has a full season worth of numbers, I don't chase last year's numbers. But and then Watson, typically Watson's going like 4th or 5th round,
Right.
and so usually it gets to about there's like receivers or running backs or tight ends that I want to get through.
Yeah.
Usually about the early part of the 7th round or whatever. And so if I've got a mid to late 7th round pick, I might take, Baker there, or if he's there in the 8th. So that's kind of right at the point where I'm done getting my skill positions and I want to take the best, who I think is the best quarterback available there. And it's been Baker, or I've waited 2 or 3 rounds later and then taken Wentz in the 9th or 10th round.
Yeah.
I think he's going to have a Midland. I think he's going to be like he was last year. He'll be solid 22, 23 points. If you want consistency, I think he'd be great.
Which to me in 7th or 8th round is incredible. If I can get a consistent.
Not me, man. I'm going for the moon. Give me some Winston. Give me some Cam Newton. Give me somebody that's going to run the ball. Now Mayfield may run a little bit, but Jackson is going to run a lot.
But Newton, though, with his injury history,
Newton's gonna, dude. You can take the runner out of the. I don't know, but Newton's gonna keep running.
He's gonna keep getting hurt because of that.
Maybe. I get you get him in the 8th, 9th round. Like you guys said, I'd rather have Newton than this question mark, Mayfield.
Okay.
But so last point. I'll just say real quick. So on Baker for his, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so his final 8 games, he either threw for in 6 out of 8, in 6 out of his final 8 games, he basically threw for typically like 280 yards and 2 to 3 touchdowns.
I mean, yeah, that's like 23 points. Yay, that's good.
That is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean that's fine, but for like these days, that's like,
but for
that's like a Midland.
For a rookie. For a rookie who's now in his second year and added one of the 5 best receivers in the game.
Yeah. Here's the other thing though. I think he's going to be overhyped. And he's that sort of thing. So look, he had 21, 24, 12 points against Denver, 13 points against Carolina, 13 points against Houston. He had 25 against Cincinnati, but Cincinnati, they were banged up at that point. Atlanta, come on. Atlanta was nothing last year. He had 22 points against them. Then he had 17 points against KC. Like, these are fantasy points. These are the points I care about.
Yeah, but I do too. But I mean, again, I mean, I'm just going through, what he did over those final 8 games. I mean, it was pretty good for where he was coming along to.
I agree. And he is going to be, but don't you have this feeling like everybody is saying like the Browns are the new friggin' Patriots, Don't you have this feeling that they're going to let everybody down?
Yeah, I think I do worry about the hype a little bit, but I would worry about it more if I was a Browns fan wanting the team to, thinking, oh, we're going to go to the Super Bowl or something this year. I worry about that more than the fantasy aspect of it.
Right.
I get that. There's just like a non-zero chance that they just crash and burn,
Yeah.
And this is coming from a Chubb owner. Like, the two people I have the most are Kittle and Chubb everywhere almost. My final point, because we got to go soon. You guys, so Alvin Kamara could be like an amazing running back this year. I'm looking at the schedule. I'm thinking about what you guys are saying about he's got the least chance of injury. He's got the I think the best skill of anybody in the top 5. Well, like combined skill and like O-line, I don't know. I don't count Ezekiel Elliott at this point, but I think he's right up there with Ezekiel Elliott. And
I think he's more talented than Elliott.
Ezekiel? Really?
The pass game, especially.
Oh yeah, that's true. And I'm looking at his schedule, and I'm thinking, oh man, where did it go? I lost it. So he's got in the final so we don't count his last game because we don't play fantasy. But he's playing the Titans in week 16. The Colts, I don't know what they're going to be like in week 15.
Yeah, it's at home, and the Saints are good at home.
Mm-hmm. So. 49ers. Now, it's not. I'm not afraid of the 49ers. They're playing the Falcons, and so the Falcons and the Panthers.
And he gets to play Tampa twice.
Yeah, and he gets to play Tampa, of course, every year. Now it's a little different because they're divisional games, and like we've said before, sometimes that's a toss-up. But he's got a sweet schedule.
I'll just say if they had said we're going to give him a full-time role, or we're going to give him an extra, like half of what Ingram was taking, we're going to give that to Kamara, I would have taken Kamara with the first pick every time. The only thing that really worries me about him is just his workload because the Saints don't want to overload him because he's not the biggest back, and it in some ways it helps him, but in some ways it kind of works against him because Sean Payton likes to get really creative down inside the 5, and he'll put Taysom Hill in there.
That's what I was going to say. I forgot. I was going to say that's who's going to take the goal line.
Right. Yeah, like that could very well be it. Like
going to be yeah.
Drew Brees is a year older. Taysom Hill, I don't know how much he's improved in the offseason, but if you had a full-time 3-down back in the Saints offense, oh my gosh, that would just be fantasy heaven, but
yeah.
it's just, there's just certain stuff like that just it's like, I don't know, it's almost like an RPG. Like it's almost like an RPG where you get to build your character and you get a certain amount of like stuff where you can build up. Yeah. Like, okay, how good is their offensive line? Like how good is their coaching scheme? What's their skill? What's their schedule?
You can only have 2 of these 3.
Exactly. And so like, Saquon is tremendously talented, but then the Giants are, just, all their receivers are down and they've got this old quarterback and they've got this young quarterback that nobody knew and all these different things. So there's nobody, there's nobody that just like is like a 5 out of 5 on all these fronts. But yeah.
Well, with that, there's no analyst that is 5 out of 5, and there's no Rotohackers that is 5 out of 5. We're up there in the 4 out of 5, guys. Sorry.
We'll get there.
You get better reviews on Yelp. It'll happen someday.
One day we'll get a viewer. There's been times we've had a viewer come in and drop a question in the.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's just like, AJ like going back and like watching himself over and over, but I went and looked and it gets like, 10, a dozen views or something like that. So, yeah.
Well, you got to start somewhere.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, last thing I wanted to say before we go,